Sixth grade Happy History class. We're moving on in lesson 2. In lesson 1, we took on the myths, religion side of the Greek culture, and then we moved on to talking about their dramas mainly and the 4 dramas that we had. Today we're going to talk about the Greek mind, their love for philosophy, and probably the 3 greatest Greek philosophers of all time that are very famous. The essential question we're after is, how do new ideas change the way people live? We'll get introduced to those new ideas, and then we'll look at the impact of them. Greek thinkers developed ideas that shape their world as well as ours today. The Greeks created the study of history, political science, biology, and logic. So we'll talk about some of the things they valued, some of the things we still value today as they start to question their world around them. Let's get rolling. It said the Greeks believed the human mind was capable of great understanding. During the golden age of Greece, from approximately 500 BC to 350 BC, so guys, golden age, peace, prosperity, great expanse in the knowledge. Know your dates for that, and then fill in your blank for number 1. Art, architecture, your blank, and literature all flourished. This was also a very fertile time for the life of the mind. Most of the thinkers discussed in this chapter were part of this exciting time. They were pondering deep questions about truth and also developing the study of science and mathematics. Greek thinkers produced some of the most remarkable ideas the world has ever known. So guys, some of this stuff that we're going to talk about today has been around for 2,500 years. You got to be impressed with it. One type of thinker was involved in creating a new body of knowledge. These thinkers were known as philosophers. The body of knowledge they created is called philosophy. Philosophy is a Greek word that means just a love of wisdom. Through philosophy, Greek philosophers helped develop the study of many subjects, including history, political science, biology, and logic. Logic is the study of reasoning, guys. So you got number 2 in your notes. Okay, so political science, guys, is literally looking at politics and saying, how do people think? What do they want their government to do? What should government do? How can we poll the people? That's political science. So we lots of times hear the word science and we think, let's look at plants or animals and things like that. We've been studying in science. You add the word political in front of it, guys. It's the science of politics. All right. Many Greek philosophers were teachers. A group of philosophers known as sophists traveled from polis to polis, city to city. They made a living by teaching. The sophists taught many subjects, including math, science, and history, number 3 in your notes. However, they were best known for teaching rhetoric. Rhetoric is the art of public speaking and debate. So, guys, rhetoric is something that is very powerful, especially if you're a politician. You can see some people are very, very good at this. Former President Obama was known for rhetoric. He could speak and debate really smoothly. President Trump is not known for this, right? One of the biggest complaints against President Trump is he's not a smooth talker. He's kind of just in your face with not a lot of class, right? And so we're going, man, President Trump, get some rhetoric. Now, President Trump's argument to that is, there's no room for a nice guy right now. We need to do some things. So, guys, the ability as a politician to be able to speak smoothly in debate wins a crowd over to you, and that crowd obviously will then vote for you. Trying to appreciate that in today's standards. Okay, one of the classes the sophists taught. Sophists did not believe that the gods influenced human action, so that's going to change them different than the Greek mythology guys where the gods were messing with everything. They also rejected the idea of absolute right or wrong. For the sophists, a way of life that was right for one person might be wrong for another. Number 4. Guys, that belief right there is very powerful in America today. America says, don't judge me. It's my body. I can do whatever I want. We as Christians lots of times will say, no, there isn't absolute right or wrong. It's written for us in the Bible. Okay, so you think about some of the debates that are out there. Let's talk about pro-choice or pro-life. Does a woman have the right to get an abortion? America says it's the woman's body. She can choose what's ever right. And other people say, no, it's not. It's a life in there. So there are people that say that's an absolute wrong. And there are other people say, hey, that might be wrong for you, but don't put that judgment on me. It's okay. And you can just go down the list, guys, of topics that we could talk about where some people would say there's an absolute right or a wrong, and other people would say, no, each person could decide for themselves. The Sophists not only challenged Greek traditions, but they also accepted money for their teaching. Number 5 in your notes. Other Greek philosophers did not approve of this practice. Many Greeks also thought that the Sophists lacked ideals and values. Critics claim the Sophists taught students to win arguments rather than seek the truth. So you can see what they taught, guys, and then you can see the pushback against them. Number 1, the pushback was they took it for money. So they might just be saying things so that people listen to them or something different and give them their money. Other people would say, no, you're trying to win an argument. If I'm really good at rhetoric and I'm good at winning arguments, I might win the arguments rather than seeking the truth. That's the world you live in 2020, isn't it? We don't know what to believe on the news anymore because I watch one news and this is a lie, I watch the other news and that's the absolute truth. I mean, you think about leading up to this election, watching commercials, guys. Well, they're the exact opposite, aren't they? President Trump's going to do this from a Joe Biden commercial, and then President Trump is going to do the exact opposite from his own commercial. It's like we don't know what to believe. We're trying to win people's votes, but we might not be telling the truth. Okay, so you got the Sophists. We'll see who that leads to challenge those things. Continuing on, there's a picture of Socrates. Socrates believed that obeying the law was more important than his own life. And we'll talk about him losing his life because of it. Okay, although a sculptor by training, Socrates loved philosophy. He lived in Athens and spent most of his life teaching. Socrates did not leave a written record of his beliefs. Information about him is found in his students' writings. These writings reveal that Socrates was a harsh critic of the Sophists. Okay, so you're down here in number 6, guys. He didn't get along with the Sophists that were out there, although nothing is recorded by him alone. He didn't write any of the stuff down. His students did. Unlike the Sophists, Socrates believed in absolute truth and that all real knowledge was within each person. In his search for truth, Socrates created a new way of questioning called the Socratic method. Today, many university professors use the Socratic method when they teach. Socrates did not lecture. In other words, he didn't stand up and just talk to his students the whole time. Instead, he asked pointed questions and waited for his students to respond. Number 7, he wanted students to find the answers for themselves and form their own opinions. And so, guys, this is what we push in today from him thousands of years ago to say, as a teacher, I'm going to give you some information, but I want you to form your own opinions because I don't want you to think exactly the way I do, because the reason I think has been influenced by my experiences in my life, and you, because you've had different experiences, might think differently. That doesn't make me right or you right, or me wrong or you wrong. So lots of times 6th graders will say, Mr. Bauer, who did you vote for, or why did you vote? And lots of times I won't even tell you that because I don't want to influence you to say, well, he's my teacher, so maybe I should think like he does. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You and I can have different political philosophies. I will definitely give you the reasons for mine so that you can say there's logic behind it, but we want our students to think for themselves. So as you go through life, you got to decide, your philosophy on life and what's important to you and things like that. And he just asked deep level questions and then forced his students to respond. And so, guys, lots of times when I'm sitting in the classroom and a teacher asks a question and I'm daydreaming, a different student raises his hand, teacher calls on them, that student answers the question, and then I wasn't forced to think about it. Did you see what Socrates did? He asked a question and then he waited. And so as a student, I got to take these questions, I got to think about them, ponder them, and get myself challenged by them. I'll encourage you to do this when you read the Bible. Why is this in the Bible? What is God trying to teach me from that? How is he challenging me? How does this look in my life? And try to enjoy God reaching out to us. Some Athenian leaders believed that the Socratic method was dangerous. At one time, Athens had allowed its people to speak freely. They could publicly question their leaders. However, when Athens lost the Peloponnesian War, its new rulers limited this freedom. The Athenians no longer trusted open debate. This method of discussion, however, was exactly what Socrates thought was necessary, so he continued to teach his students. Okay, so necessary, number 8 here. The Peloponnesian War, guys, remember from last chapter, Pericles dies when he goes to war with Sparta because of the plague, and then the new leaders made a lot of mistakes. And so as they made mistakes in that war, people started to grumble against them. At the beginning, that was just accepted. This is how we learn. Then we moved on to like, all you're doing is bad-mouthing our leader. And so on Friday, guys, we're going to take this paragraph on to say, should we be able to do this or not? Do we want to be able to speak freely? This has really come under a challenge in America in these last few years, and we'll talk more about that on Friday. But get your brain going on that. Lots of times you and I will read the statement, free speech here, and say, absolutely, we have the right to free speech. And then I want you to think if that's really a good idea and free speech. Okay? So you can think in 2020 how many people have lost their jobs because they posted something stupid on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media site, whether it was a racial something or a gender something, and then they just lose their job. The business fires them. Well, could those people turn around and say, hey, I have free speech? They could try. Right? But for so many, especially famous people, guys, it's too late. Society has shunned them, right? And they said, oh, these people are horrible people. I can't like them anymore. I can't watch their TV shows. It's what we call cancel culture today. You've been canceled by the culture because of the things you've said, okay? I need to think about that stuff. All right. I'm excited about it. That's such a good topic. Sorry, I went on too long. We'll get more on that on Friday. Let's cruise on. In 399 BC, city leaders, fearing his influence, arrested Socrates. They charged that he had urged young people to rebel against the government. A jury found Socrates guilty and sentenced him to death. Okay, so guys, this is what happened when the leaders arrested him because he's encouraging the youth. He really isn't encouraging them to rebel. He's encouraging them to question them. Why are you doing what you're doing? That's it. If they can give good reason, great. If they can't, well, then maybe I need to do something different with my government. Well, the leaders take that and say they hate me. Well, it's like in America today saying, I get angry that you're going to try to vote me out of office. Well, no, if you deserve to be voted out, that's good. That's not rebellion. Anyways, found guilty of treason against his city, sentenced to death. Following the verdict of the court, Socrates was given the opportunity to leave Athens and live. Instead, he stayed. Surrounded by his students and friends, Socrates gave his last speech. He said that he was living under the city's laws. As a result, he stated he was committed to obeying them. Socrates then drank poison to carry out the jury's sentence and die. Okay, so number 10, he gave his last speech. Number 11, he drank poison and died. So it's kind of interesting, guys. He's found guilty. Now, what they say is, Socrates, you're a really famous person. You're very influential. We don't like you in Athens. We think you're causing problems. So feel free to move on. Socrates says, no, I'm staying here. He says, well, then you need to die. So they give him poison to drink. Now, guys, it's not like they said, oh, here's a glass of milk, and he didn't know it was poison. He full-fledged knew it was poison, and he drank the poison and died. And I want you to think why he did that. The city leader said, you're sentenced to death because you don't follow our rules. Socrates followed the rules so much, guys, he drank his own poison to die. And so it really challenged the leaders to say, well, we just put this guy to death because he's against the rules, and yet he followed every single one of them, including his death sentence. So kind of interesting how Socrates goes out. Let's move on to Socrates' student. Sculptor of Plato, started a school called the Academy. And we'll cover more of this. Two Greek philosophers you may have heard of are Plato and Aristotle. The philosopher Plato was one of Socrates' students. Plato became a teacher and founded a school in Athens called the Academy. Okay, number 12 in your notes. Unlike Socrates, Plato recorded his ideas in writing. One work Plato wrote was called The Republic. It presented his plan for an ideal society and government. In the Republic, Plato organized society into 3 groups. At the top were what he called philosopher kings. They ruled through logic and wisdom. So you got letter A in number 13. Warriors, the second group, defended society from attack using force. The third group included the rest of people. Their role was to produce the society's food, clothing, and shelter. Letter C in your notes. They lack the wisdom of the kings and the courage of the warriors. So if you're a really brave person, you're a warrior. If you're super intelligent, you get to that top level and you're a philosopher king. Everybody else in society, you just do what you're told, right? Produce what the society needs. Plato believed that an ideal society must have a just and reasonable government. In the Republic, Plato noted his dislike of Athenian democracy. He wrote that the common people did not think for themselves and they could be easily influenced into making foolish decisions. Plato believed that philosopher kings were intelligent and well educated. He felt these kings would place the needs of the community ahead of their own needs. Plato wanted only these philosopher kings to govern the citizens of Greece. So, guys, he goes against the democracy and he says, man, I want this group to be the one who does those things. So, you got number 14 here, philosopher kings. What he gets to it, he says the common people can be too easily influenced and make foolish decisions. Guys, it's one of the things that I would encourage you to think of as you get older and you get to the age of voting. Lots of times when we're young, we don't have enough experience and we believe it. So anytime a politician promises me something, I slow myself down. And you just got to be careful with it, guys, because a government can't give me anything. It first doesn't collect from somebody else. So what that means is if I'm going to give away anything, I have to collect the money to pay for that thing myself. So in my world, anytime an official promises me something, that means more taxes to me. Now, America lots of times doesn't think about that. They just hear someone's promising me something, sweet. And because the politician says, I'm going to promise you free housing. Everybody gets a free house if you vote for me. Great. What does that mean? I have to tax everybody like crazy. But I'm never going to say, hey guys, good news, I'm going to raise your taxes like crazy. So if you believe the political commercials, guys, that was one of the things President Trump attacked Mr. Biden on, was he was going to raise the taxes. Well, one of the things Mr. Biden did is he promised a lot of really cool things. He's talking anywhere from free community college to free universal health care. That stuff sounds really good. Yes, free health care. Everybody should get health care. Okay, nothing is free, guys. So maybe he had to raise taxes. And, the answer, I don't know either, because I don't know what to believe with the political commercials. It's just what you need to think about. So what Plato said is, man, we got to get some guys who are so intelligent, so well educated, they will make decisions that's best for the community, not best for themselves. Another complaint about our government, guys, is so often those politicians are in politics so long that all they do is make rules to help themselves. And so you have to be able to put the needs of the country ahead of your own needs. It is one of the things that I respect about President Trump is he was a business owner, guys. He's literally a billionaire running his own business. By becoming president, it's cost him a lot of money. It would have been easier for him to just stay in the business world. So he put the community's needs, the country's needs ahead of his own. And where I don't agree with a lot of things, I do have a lot of respect for that, guys, because he would be one of these guys that Plato would say, you are thinking about other people's needs first. So good stuff here with politics. Despite his distrust of the common people, Plato was willing to grant more rights to women. He believed that women should have the same opportunity for education and jobs that men have. Okay, number 15 in your notes. So I don't like the common person. I don't trust them, but all the common people are alike. We shouldn't separate them out like only men are smart and can vote. Women are just as smart. So he pushed for equality there, guys. Interesting. Love it. Would have been very popular at our time. Would have been a great politician here in America. Let's get the next teacher. And that's Aristotle. Okay, so here's Aristotle. He's going to come underneath Plato. So guys, we got him in order today. Socrates taught Plato. Plato's going to be around at the same time as Aristotle. Aristotle is going to be a major influencer as well. And I just went too far. Where did I go? I went back to chapter 1 here. So we go. Let's get back to Aristotle and our notes. Another great thinker of ancient Greece was Aristotle. He wrote more than 200 works on topics such as government, astronomy, and political science. In 335 BC, Aristotle started a school called the Lyceum. At this school, he taught his students the golden mean. The mean is the middle between two extremes, guys. In math, we call it the average, right? So get in the middle. The idea of the golden mean is that people should live moderately. For example, individuals should not eat too little or too much. Instead, they should eat just enough. So we always talk about moderation in everything. I don't drink too much. I don't drink too little. Don't eat too much. Don't eat too little. I don't want to work too much and become this workaholic that never sees my family because I'm working all day. I obviously don't want to work too little. And so that's his big philosophy, the golden mean. Aristotle had many interests, including science. He studied the stars, plants, and animals and carefully recorded what he observed. Aristotle classified living things according to their similarities and differences. Aristotle's methods were an important step in the development of modern science. Okay, so 17, he classified living things, guys. If you remember way back to chapter 1 in science when we talk about classification, Aristotle is this respected genius, so he classified everything as either a plant or an animal. And because he believed in plant and animal, and he was so famous, it took us a long time to say there's more kingdoms out there because of the respect we had for that guy. Like Plato, Aristotle also wrote about government. He studied and compared the governments of different city-states and hoped to find the best political system. In his book, Politics, Aristotle divided government into 3 types. The first was a monarchy. It's a rule by one. The second is an oligarchy. It's a rule by a few. The third type is a democracy. It's a rule by many. So guys, pound that into your head. Rule by one, rule by few, rule by the many people. Monarchy is what we used to have in ancient histories. We'll get a lot of those. Oligarchy was Sparta. You get a few. Democracy was rule by many. That's Athens. Oligarchy would be what Plato wants, guys. Plato, I want those philosopher kings, a group of people who are geniuses who can work together to get things done. There are positives and negatives. A monarchy gets things done because he doesn't have to argue with anybody. He's only arguing with himself. The problem with it, bad king, bad country. Good king, good country. Oligarchy, rule by a few. This, in my mind, is the happy medium between these two. Why is it good? Because you have more than one opinion, so you can see it from other sides. Why is it sometimes bad? Lots of times the oligarchy, the few people, are all the same. They're all the rich, wealthy people. Well, okay, I put all the rich, wealthy people together. I'm not getting the philosophy of the poor farmer and things like that. Democracy, ruled by the people, tons of opinions. Rich, poor, men, women, young, old, great. The negative, we don't get anything done because we're all arguing about it. America's a perfect example of it, right? Okay, so we go back and forth on our policies all the time. If you look at history, guys, it's literally on an 8-year average back and forth with presidents. Republican president, Democratic president. Republican, Democrat. Republican, Democrat. Why do we keep switching? Because nobody can get it right, and we as a people keep complaining against it. Aristotle believed the best government had features of all 3. A chief executive should serve as the head of state. A council or legislator would assist these leaders and be supported by the people. So 19, features of all 3. I hope you just realize that was America. We're going to get that in this paragraph. A president, a legislative branch, voted in by the people. That's how our country was set up. Aristotle's ideas influenced the way Europeans and Americans thought about government. Okay, 20 in your notes. The author of the United States Constitution, like Aristotle, believed no one person or group should have too much power. So that's why we have this, guys. Now, we would be called, obviously, democracy, but you can see the features of all 3 so that our goal is accomplished. What's our goal? Don't give any one person or one group too much power. All right, your extra credit. What is that called? Number 1, that's called checks and balances from like chapter 1 or chapter 2, guys. That's what we have. Number 2 extra credit in your notes. And I might be wrong, but I'm 87% positive. The poison that Socrates had to drink was hemlock. Okay, so here's extra credit number 2. Poison equals hemlock. Now, if you want extra credit number 3, you find a website that says I'm right or wrong and just write the web address down. So you could say poison equals hemlock. Check! And then you write down www. And whatever website you found that proved I was right or wrong. So type in, what poison did Socrates have to drink? And see if I'm right. All right. Have a great day, guys.